I've started a daily vlog in the last couple weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, where I've been sharing different thoughts and reflections, usually in this situation as I'm driving around. A big thing that I've been getting feedback on is language, presentation, what's going to help facilitate people receiving my message better, and so on. If you've watched my vlogs lately, then you know that I went through a desolation last week. As I've been putting myself out here more, it's been those questions coming up. How do I communicate most effectively when I'm doing this? What do I change? What don't I change? How does that work? And I'll tell you what I came to after a week of pondering it, fretting about it, being uncomfortable about it, and everything else, is that what God wants me to do is just be me. So the tension here is between authenticity and the need to communicate in a way that's effective. The place that I've come to after a week of desolation is that authenticity is precisely the way to communicate effectively. It's to be who we are. Growth and virtue is not about hammering out and changing our behavior. It's about stepping into a new way of behaving. The way I talk now is different than it was 2 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Way different, and it's way better. The content of what I talk about has changed. The words that I use, the emphasis, how sharp or how soft they are, all those things have changed. And there's something that I've naturally stepped into over a long period of time. And that's really how growth in virtue happens. As we bring our hearts to the Lord and He leads us and we follow the Spirit, we step into new ways of thinking, believing, and acting. And so where I'm currently at with language and all those things is just that. I'm going to be me, you know, and I'm not going to apologize for it, and there's no reason I should apologize for it. There's no reason you should apologize for being you. Several years ago, before I joined Focus, Fellowship of Catholic University Students, I was very concerned about my language. I dropped the F-bomb all the time, every other word. I was in a tattoo shop, like my language was just awful. One day I was standing outside my tattoo shop and this guy who I sponsor in the church came up to me. And we were standing there talking for a minute, and then there was a pause, and he was like, you know, Matt, he's like, I'm really glad you cuss. And I kind of looked at him funny. And he was like, yeah, I'm really glad you cuss, because at least I know they'll take me too. And that really hit me right between the eyes. Here I was worried about conforming myself to a group of people and how they do things and how they are, instead of just being who I am and allowing God to move through that in the way He chooses to. See, God uses all of this to touch hearts and to reach people. And so some people, if they hear me say frickin', it's just gonna sound completely natural because they say the same things. There's other people who that's gonna be offensive to. And to those who it's offensive to, it's an invitation to learn how to have the heart of Christ. To be patient, to be kind, to look beyond the surface, to see the heart of the person who's speaking, the message they're conveying, and to find God into it. To be upset by those things and bothered and uncomfortable is the precise invitation into the cross for those individuals. It's the place where they can lovingly sacrifice and release grace and love through the acceptance of the individual who's offending them. The thing we need to be careful of is that the religious leaders of the time, the religious faithful, didn't recognize Jesus because He did not come in the right packaging. He didn't do the right stuff. The more that I speak, the more that I get out there, the more pushback I will get. The more people will nitpick and criticize and take apart. And so I have to be solid and steadfast in what God is asking of me. And for those who are listening, you can bring that discomfort to Jesus and allow Him to stir greater compassion, patience, and kindness and love in your heart for somebody who's saying or doing things that you don't 100% agree with. And that's really a grace that we all need to have. So that's been a important point for me as I've been getting this feedback, because my point of intolerance and judgment is for those kind of criticisms. Please hit like, subscribe, and ding the bell if you want to get regular updates. Please continue praying for me. I'll continue praying for you, and let's take over the world.